悪霊退散。
For me, as someone who played fighting games before Tag 2 and always having to deal with the player 1 side and player 2 side, kind of like a 50-50, I noticed that people who only played Tekken 7 and only Tekken 8, they weren't comfortable with playing on the player 2 side. I eventually learned that switching sides with someone, grabbing them and switching sides with them would throw off their whole entire game. We all know that one guy who cannot do electrics from the player 2 side, the Hell Sweeper from the player 2 side. This is how comfortable people are with playing on the left, but then when you move them to the right, everything falls apart. Their inputs, their combos, their mix-ups, everything. And even though the option to choose your side is good, I think it has a bad effect on the player and their progression as a whole. Here's Speed Kicks on Twitter. He says, "Hello Harada, Nakatsu, and Michael Murray. An easy/inexpensive feature that would make a big difference to hardcore players is random side select." In the picture, he's simply saying you can go into the settings before you start a match, and instead of saying player 1 or player 2 side, you say random select side. It would make it so players get a random player 1, player 2 side in every online match, so that they can get comfortable with the game on both sides like online. Now, something that I do personally, I play on the player 1 side, but when I'm practicing for a match, like when I'm searching for a match, I have the settings to swap me to the player 2 side. It's very confusing, but if you watch the live streams, you know. I press the button and then now my character's on the right side. So I can practice right combos even though I'm fighting on the left, because I understand how important it is to stay sharp in that aspect. He says, and side select on-off feature in player match lobbies, picture 2, that would force players to play on the opposite side while playing. It would help simulate offline gameplay during practice sessions and tournaments. Harada, in a separate discussion, kind of responds to this. Someone says, "I want to thank you for letting both players play on the right side. You don't know how many of my games will be bad from the other side of the screen." Once again, you talk about grabbing your opponent, switching them to the other side, and then they can't play the game anymore. This is one of those players. Harada says, "I had wanted to realize this idea since Tekken 6, but it was eventually realized in Tekken 7. However, because of the system, many players have trouble getting used to player 2 side and have a hard time in offline competitions. So the option to randomly decide the playing side is also on our consideration." Someone adds to this and says, "Random select would be nice addition." And I would definitely turn this on. Random select each time, sign me up. Harada says, "But there is one drawback to this. Unless the player 1, player 2 selection is forced random, people will choose their favorite side, so they will never get to practice." So I think what he means here is if we set the default to anything except for random, I believe he's saying that most people won't select random. Correct me if that's not what he's saying, but I think that's what he's saying. And even if that is what he is saying, I kind of don't think it matters. Like, if you just set it to force random and no one changes it, so what? If you set it to player 1 and no one changes it, so what? It really just comes down to, I mean, I think this feature that Tekken 7 implemented is astounding, especially in a 3D game. For one person to see one angle and then the other person to be on the other side with the other camera, it makes you wonder why none of these other fighting games ever done it. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, when you're on a 2D plane, left and right, it would be very easy to flip the camera and flip the background image because it's just the image. But at the same time, like we discussed here, I think it does come at a negative cost to the players, and a lot of people may not be aware of that. Yes, it's difficult to learn player 1 side and player 2 side, mastering the electrics on both sides, but if you really want to be good at the game, if you really want to get talented at the game, it's something that you have to do. Because like I said at the start, once I realized you can't do certain inputs on the other side, I'm flipping you with grabs, jumping over you. I will literally drop a combo to jump over you to get to the other side so you can no longer play the game. I don't know if people go that deep into it, but in Tekken 7, I definitely was doing all kind of shenanigans like that. But regardless, it's cool to see that Harada is considering adding this. And with enough people requesting this, maybe they'll eventually do it.